Hi class. This video is what I call an application to the real world, where I take the time to talk to you about every 3 modules or so I produce a video like this that shows you what you've been learning, how it's used in the real world of statistics and research. So as an analyst myself, I use all this all the time, every day. And today I'm going to talk to you about modules 1, 2, and 3 and what you've learned in them and how I use them every day as an analyst. So let's look at number 1, module 1. And this is very casual. I just kind of look over it, and it's more so important to hear about how what you learn is done every day in the field. So in module 1, you pretty much were trying to learn, the concepts that you were learning were identifying research methods, appropriate research methods, and you learned about the scientific method and multiple other ones. So the big piece of this module 1 is how to use research methods. And every day, as an analyst, I'm met with the task of producing results with data. And I have to decide what the appropriate research method is. And oftentimes, because there's a multitude of statistical analyses and methods, you have to know which one is best, and over time they become like tools, and you have to know which tool is right for the job. So if you're doing a job that needs a hammer, you're not going to go pick up your screwdriver. And if you need a job that has a saw, you're not going to go pick up your flashlight. And that's pretty much how stats works in the real world. Is when you see a certain type of research question, you know which analyses and method to use. So if I'm comparing GPA performance between freshman and sophomore students, I know that I need to use a t-test, because that t-test looks at numerical, the mean comparisons, whether they're significant or not on numerical variables. If someone else came to me and said, I want to know if there's a significant difference in gender, male versus female, I know I need to use a chi-square analysis, because a chi-square analysis works with character variables, because the words male and female are called character variables, and they're not numeric, so they're not numerical variables. So I know I shouldn't use a t-test, and I need to use a chi-square. And this kind of stuff goes on and on and on. And you have all types of different stats analyses. So that's Module 1's real-world application. Module 2, you have to form a research topic, look at what type of design and what type of ethical concerns. Moving forward, let's say I did find out what stats method to use. Oftentimes when we do exploratory research in the field, they may come to me and say, hey, I'm curious about knowing how do transfer students do compared to native students? Meaning, how do students who come from community colleges, how do they do compared to students who do not go to community college? And we don't know the answer yet, so go out and find that answer, Abel. And I have to think of a way to look at that, how to form the research, and how to design it. And there's a long procedure behind that, but I have to pick the population, define the parameters of that population, create the population, and then once you have a very cleaned up population of those who go to community college and those who do not, you can go ahead and run your analyses. But the difficulties lie in the details of your population building. So you have to really know how to build it. What if you chose students who, for your transfer students, what if you chose all of the students in your data set that were indicated that they were a transfer student? Well, the research question originally said, I want to know about community college transfer students. Well, if you just pull transfer students, you may be pulling community college transfer students, students who transferred from another 4-year institution, students who came from a trade school. You have to narrow it down to specifically community college transfer only students and omit all the other ones. So there's all those, like they say, the devil's in the details. The challenges lie in knowing those little tiny details of your data. Module 3, looking at threats in research as well as working with SPSS. So keeping with this idea of transfer students and native students, you have threats. In all your research, there's always threats. What if I find out in my data set, I've got 2,000 native students. These are people who didn't go to a community college. 2,000. And my transfer students, I have 150. And I do a comparison. Where's the threat in that? The threat is the unbalanced population sizes. It's not good to compare 2,000 students to 150. Think of strength. The strength of 2,000 people it's going to outdo the strength of 150 people. So it's just unfair. So there's times like this where you have to decide what to do. And that's when you have to think of threats to your validity. I can't go and do that study and then go tell somebody and say, I found out that community college students are doing just fine, because the sample size is so unbalanced. And then I work in statistical software like SPSS and SAS, and I program and work within that, and that's where I do all my data manipulation. So this is modules 1, 2, and 3, and how what you're learning is applicable in the real world. Take care.